Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the 435 podcast. I'm your host, Robert McFarland. Over the next several episodes, guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the 2025 municipal elections. Mayors and city council members from all over Southern Utah are going to be seeking your vote in helping shape the future of our cities. So this is the place that you're going to be able to get one-on-one conversations with all the candidates to help you make the best decision for you come election season. So please make sure you like and subscribe, share it with other voters throughout Washington County, and make sure they have the information they need to make the decisions that are going to be best for us in the county. We hope you enjoy this episode and this series of episodes, guys. We'll see you out there.
From the Blue Form Media Studios, this is the 435 podcast, the pulse of Southern Utah.
Greg Aldred, you're running for St. George City Council. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
I don't like the formal intro, but I feel like we need to just kick it off. We've been talking for like 10 minutes already, but we're like, we should probably just get rolling.
Well, another 20 minutes, you and I could solve all the world's problems.
I know. We were talking about John Adams and Jefferson and opposing viewpoints, and I think right now it's an interesting time. You know, we're recording this on September 17th. We've got a lot of political turmoil, all just once again, going through the nation, and it's been pretty stressful every time I open social media, and I've decided I'm just going to unplug from it. I want to stay out of it for a bit.
It's been so sad, especially this time, especially coming from our state. Actually, our city, and to have it so close. And, that's another inspiration why I'm running. I hope there's not a gender factor here because I'm the only guy running against 3 women. And I look at it as I'm running for the seat, not a particular incumbent. I want to, bring what I feel are good policies to benefit all the people in St. George.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And I've been here. Well, I've raised 5 daughters here. As we were sharing earlier, I lost Sarah 2 years ago to stomach cancer, and so I cry for her in the morning, but then I smile and remember great things about her and go forward. But with that said, out of the 4 daughters, they went to different high schools because I'm a builder, and we would jump around. And I told them, "Hey, I want you to have your own identity." You know. But then I have a wonderful wife, Carol, and she's like most women are nest builders, and she's been so supportive of where we have gone and moved, and just to keep our career going. So I'm a retired general contractor. The last 2 houses I built were actually for my daughters over 8-9 years ago.
Oh, nice.
And I built the last one so we could house any other daughters that come visit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fortunate because most of them live here, but some have moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carol and I, we sold our last house and debt-free and kind of live in a park model. And, and then who knows, maybe we'll end up doing the pull the trailer and see the world thing.
Yeah.
Depending after the election and maybe after I get a chance to serve our city.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about maybe your path, your political path, because you've been pretty active in politics for, several decades.
My very
right?
first campaign, Robert, was because somebody told me, "Oh, you don't run against an incumbent." And when I first moved here, I moved here 44 years ago, and my dad was very connected into being a county commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking Dad later in life, I said, "Are you a good old boy, Dad?" And he says, "Is that a country radio station, son?" But when he ran his election, there was 26,000 people in the county. This is in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he had 4 signs, Robert, one on each part of the county.
Mm-hmm.
It said, "We love you, Grandpa Aldred." And all the grandkids signed it. That was his whole election.
Yeah.
And he just spoke from his heart. And then to give accolades to my mother, she always made sure that we served the community. She would do a spook alley every year for the Diabetes Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, there were vacant houses that would donate their house, and we'd build this spook alley. That doesn't happen today, but I got to play Freddy Krueger and Executioner. I mean, the parts I got in. And we raised so much money for that foundation, and Mom was so good at serving the community. They actually dedicated and named the senior center after my mother.
Oh, that's awesome.
In St. George. So I just want to acknowledge them for keeping us involved in community service. Yeah. And then all my daughters are special in their own way. They're so different. With that said, I was into athletics and sports, female side, and I was fortunate to be a national Golden Gloves coach.
Mm-hmm.
I trained the first female pro fighter in the state of Utah. A lot of people don't know that her name was Summer De Leon, and we took her to #1 in the world.
Wow.
She beat Marcia Valley twice, the Canadian bomber.
That's a cool name.
Summer was so good at what she did.
What was Summer's nickname?
Summer, well, we just called her Summertime.
Summertime.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she'd put it where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
Somebody did a whole rap about her. But, she ended up getting married and pregnant and having a life with the family. But she was just amazing. So such a powerful woman, and she listened so well, on the techniques. When she first came into our dojo gym, so as I've taught martial arts for many years, and we converted it into U.S. amateur boxing because we didn't have that program. And when she came in, I told Jose Sosa, I said, light her up a little bit. We don't want women here. That's the wrong thing. And man, Summer come to me after Jose had hit a few shots on her, and I said, what do you want to do, Summer? She says, I want to learn how to kick his
butt.
Yep. And so from there, she just went on. She's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're. I mean, it sounds like to me that you have a career in service. You've built businesses.
Yeah.
You're a coach. You're a trainer.
We messed around in energy too a little bit, Robert. We
messed around in energy.
Thermal energy company.
You're an inventor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thermal energy company.
Yeah. We did a lot of. We converted a lot of pools. We have so much sun out here, and we would do propylene glycol and these big heat exchangers, and convert heating the pools all by the sun.
Oh yeah,
and especially these HOAs, because those old people want that pool about 85 degrees.
Yeah, you can run them up on the roof, and then you heat the water up on the roof and run it back down. Yeah. I've sold a couple homes with those in it, and they last.
Cool.
They last a long time. It wasn't one of them. It was like 35 years. This thing, and it worked awesome.
They're amazing. And my partner was Jack Tice, the plumber. And me being the general, I'd handle the structure, and then he would do all the heat exchangers at the bottom of the pumps. And it was a really good gig. Yeah, and enjoyed it. And then Jack inherited a big lump of sum of money with all his siblings. His grandma sold some land.
Jackpot.
Yeah. And I said, well, Jack, I think you're going to be playing a different game now. And anyway, I love Jack, and hopefully he'll...
do they still do those heat exchangers for pools and stuff, or is that not really popular anymore?
I don't know why they just don't continue doing it. And Robert, there's also a little mechanism where they put a tube in existing water heaters at houses. You can convert any hot water tank to solar. They're amazing. Yeah, Dr. Butler invented it out of San Diego. But, as my time goes and my light and candle kind of shortens, you got to figure out where you're going to put your time and energy. But
I mean,
those were fun times.
I'm 38, and the amount of times I have to say no to opportunities and ideas, it's been a focus for me to not just chase every rabbit that pops into my mind. Yeah. And it's one thing to have ideas, but then executing them, and you got to have the time. Yeah. So setting priorities.
Time? And when you mentioned inventor, that's exactly what happened to me. I thought I was retired. I've been very blessed to have the life I have. And then my brother invited me fishing. And because of an issue, fishing, the weeds and et cetera, we come up with a little invention. And I shared with you earlier, we actually got Entrepreneur of the Year up at SUU last October.
And using resources within our community, going to Innovation Plaza, right?
The Makerspace. Two beautiful, shout out to Bailey Schumacher and Bailey Larkin. They were both my engineer students that it really helped me bring this to fruition.
That's just awesome. I mean, it's things like that, and we can talk. I want to have you back on and talk about, because you have a visionary mind. In my perspective, you have a mind that looks forward in the future, and you can get excited about a lot of those things. And we could always talk about that. But I think for this specific role, you're running for city council.
Yes.
You ran previously against an incumbent. How have you viewed politics in St. George and Washington County? It's shifted a little bit over time, but
Robert,
how is this election different than the others?
It used to be so civil, and I'm telling you, there's some nasty going on right now. I've never seen it get this way. I have somebody, in my opinion, kind of sabotaging my candidacy, and they're doing it. I think, we sign, I'm going to back up a little bit, because we sign a fairness in campaigning. There's a form we sign. I've always kept to that. I believe you never better yourself by knocking somebody else down. It's easy to criticize anybody when you haven't been in that position of office. So with that said, I've got, and I'll set it up. I've got a gal, Paula Smith. Come on, Paula, knock it off. you got these statistics of saying, I can't win, put your vote somewhere else so this other person can't win. And I'm telling you, if we look at Natalie's race 4 years ago, she was last place. Her and Rick Erickson, and this is the same seat I'm running for now, was within 8 votes. And it went back and forth, and Natalie got it. Last place, me in third, Vardell Curtis in second, and Michelle Tanner. Michelle Tanner's a rock star. You know, I mean, I don't see anybody beating her. And that's just the bottom line. So basically, I look at there's one seat open and left. So I had these conservatives, so-called conservatives, through the primary say, we support you, Greg. You're the best. And we won't spend much time on this. But bottom line is they want me to take a dive, put the votes on Natalie, and I'm supposed to lay down and not run a campaign. They want to try to control this so they can they're worried about this gal that's got a ton of money, big support coming to her. And, you know, bless them all for throwing their hat in the ring. I'll say that. But you can't tell people to vote. I would hope that you would put the best candidate out there that has policies for the people and not the politics of who's going to try to control the vote because they're worried about somebody else getting in there.
Now, I want to stay away from, because I don't know the whole story.
I know you don't. Right?
But I do have a question. It sounds to me like what, because Greg MacArthur dropped out in the last election, and there was accusations along these lines previously by a conservative portion of the group that said that was what the purpose was this same strategy, which sounds like it's happening to you.
Oh, it is.
Was what they were accusing Greg of doing previously. Did you hear that?
I did. And I've had so many people call me say, well, what shall we do? I said, vote where your heart is, vote for the best candidate. Don't let them play their little politics on these analytics. And there's another guy, Gary Henderson, and this. I mean, he's part. Nicole.
He's one of the leaders within the Republican Party of Washington County, right?
He is, and so is Nicole Mallory. We're all precinct leaders, and I'm reaching out to my Republican friends. I know it's a
nonpartisan.
It absolutely is, but I'm probably the most conservative candidate of them all on this. But I'm also the most open candidate because I think that's because of my 5 daughters. They've taught me how to have an open heart and listen. So I wish they would knock that off. And I'm not going to thrash this other candidate, Jamie, who's, is in this, and yes, she's got a lot of funding. Can money buy a seat in our city and county? I don't know, Robert. All I'm going to do is run the campaign the best I can and let people know who I am.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing is the ones who raise money tend to win. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are buying the seat. I think there's something to be said for which donors, where they're getting their money, how they're using the money, and they still have to have a message to run on. And so I think it's easy to take a second and look back and say, okay, who won and who raised the most money? But is that a function of they're a great candidate and so they were able to convince people to donate to their campaign?
And they haven't even had a shot at whether they're elected or not and what's to come. I mean, it's like trying to predict the future. And that's what I've had some wonderful people call me and say.
I mean, Trump didn't get, he was outraised, right? And
he was outraised. And then also, if you followed analytics and polls and all that, Robert, they can be very flawed. And I think her numbers are flawed. And that's what I was talking about Natalie, because she was in last place and she finished the election in first. So if I'm in last place, according to the 4 and Paula's theory of me,
the strategy,
strategy of me not winning, then I say that's flawed, and I'm calling her out on that too. It's flawed. If people want to vote for me, please.
And this is what gets into, and the reason I do this podcast and the reason I have been trying to interview as many candidates as I can, and I'm probably not going to get to everybody just because this is we're running on a shoestring budget. I do this as a service to the community.
Well, thanks for having me.
And I think it's important, but I do want to give a voice to everybody and have a level playing field, because if with the access to information and a conversation to be able to judge the candidates by their merits, by what they believe and what their vision is, and everything else, goes by the wayside. I think that's the best perspective. But I get people asking me all the time, Rob, it seems like you pay attention the most. Who should I vote for? I was asked that this last weekend,
Absolutely.
and I'm like, I don't want to tell you who to vote for.
Yeah.
I said this is who I am going to vote for myself, and these are the reasons why. But I mean, it's not.
You got to make that decision.
You got to make that decision.
That's why
for
I
yourself.
love the caucus system.
Yeah,
it's
I love it too.
Good purpose. And then
I like the new idea too. What are we calling it? Neighborhood elections instead of caucus.
It's the only way to maybe put a little dent in the SB 54.
Yeah,
which is a signature path.
So let's get into some questions. Same questions that I asked Jamie and Natalie and Michelle. And so we kind of know who you are, where you came from. You've been here a long time. But what do you feel like is the proper role of government in the city? What's the proper role in the city?
First is public safety, absolutely. And I know that's a big umbrella of what falls under public safety. But that is the duty of government, absolutely. And so we fund the police, emergency services first. That should come right up the top of our budget. I know we've talked about our budget before. It's $523 million. I mean, and you've done a good job at defending it and where the actual money is. But if you compare it to Provo, it's pretty off a little bit. Here's what I want to do, Robert, when elected. For all voters and taxpayers, let's do a third-party analysis. Just come in, see how they claim or see which efficiencies, what's working, what's not. I'd like to do that every 4 years. Whether I'm elected or not, I hope the council that's there would do that, because it's not about a department that's saying, hey, we got this much money last time. If we don't spend it, we don't get it. I wish that was never a factor. What they need to do is, what do they need? And we fund it under each department. So we do a third party. They see where we are. Everything's is exposed, transparent. We need the efficiency of the budget, where it's working, where we could help, where we could do. And then also, let's put everything online. I want everything online, line for line, put it up there. Especially the way our councilmen vote or our mayor's votes and all that. And no more secrecy. I'm not saying there is, but I'm just saying, the public feels better when they have an understanding and are educated on where the money's going.
So they do a financial audit as to you have money coming in, money going out. Is it when it comes in, it's being accounted for to go to this thing, and does it actually get spent in that way? So they do an audit that way. So
is it an in-house audit though? I mean, and that's been the challenge.
I'm pretty sure that it's a third party, but obviously they're going to hire on that individual, right? So there's an element of, well, the rooster is checking, who's coming in to do the inspection. So
the fox is guarding the hen house. I mean, those people that serve.
But so
thank you for that.
Are you thinking more along the lines of, is this the best use of the dollars that we're getting in? Is that the kind of audit that you're talking about? Not necessarily.
Yes, an efficiency audit is what we're going to do. Not where money's going here and here, but just an efficiency, which each division. And that could work into parks and recs. I mean, it could be into emergency services. That's just one. So
kind of like a Doge.
I'm an advocate. Well,
like an department of efficiency.
I guess that's kind of a big thing.
Trying to highlight the waste, if there's waste.
If there's
waste.
That, there's 110,000 people. Well, back in 2024 was the census of 106. So
we're about
you're into that. So about 110,000 people. If you did the math on a $523 million budget, it's probably like, whoa. So let's just give the people an exclamation of where their tax dollars are going.
Yeah.
And I'm an advocate for that. I will not raise taxes. I've said that before. I think the city has some assets that we could let go, so that would never happen. I shared that story once before, and then everybody thought I wanted to sell all our golf courses. I just happened to
just one of them.
Just one. Thank you, Robert. You remember. And it was Southgate. And, we actually did some work on there, and Herb couldn't pay his bill, and the city took it. And, that thing's got to be millions. And so if there was ever a shortfall, like there was 4 years ago, supposedly, that we couldn't fund the police, I thought that's one way out. And then we have a little bit of land on the boulevard, too, that's part of the city's. And I know there was a very profound broker lady says, since when is St. George in the real estate business? They shouldn't be there. And so that's just my opinion. We have some assets and we have some things that we can do to trim our expenses and make sure that our tax base is covered. And I'm a big advocate for that.
So from your perspective, the proper role within the city wouldn't necessarily be in the business of economic development. Is that kind of what I hear you saying? Is it, should they be owning land or creating economic opportunities?
Robert, that's a really fine line there, because there's always special situations when it comes down to that. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I would say another hot topic on that giving economic value is probably the Costco. I mean, that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. Some people, at least who have talked to me, I think Costco was going to come anyway, regardless whether you can't say it's not a tax incentive, because that's not the legal term, but it depends on the wording of how they gave them an opportunity to build there. I think they were going to build there anyway. This happened to us when Blue Bunny came here. We gave Blue Bunny, and that was, I don't know if tax, the terminology you have to be careful with that. We don't want to bring any lawsuits. But Blue Bunny came, we gave them quite a package deal.
Incentive
to save millions, and the time when it was up to them to start paying their fair share, they're gone. Yeah. They moved out. And I've seen that happen in Cedar City too, with their furniture building store, maybe half a dozen times. And you can't predict the future. You would hope that they would have some type of business ethics to make that work. So, we've got to a point of population and all that, we can maintain a lot of these other specialty stores that want to come, and just let them come. If that's what they want to do, they got to pay the price.
Yeah, we had the city on to talk about, and we talked quite a bit about Costco. And one of the things that was brought up was, well, it's a battle for these businesses, especially established businesses. Costco. You'd think Blue Bunny would be one where you could trust, right? You have this history, and you would say, hey, they're going to come somewhere. And we want them to be in the city limits of St. George to benefit from jobs and tax base. Yeah. And so if we don't incentivize them in St. George, maybe they're going to go to Washington, maybe they go to Hurricane, maybe they go somewhere else. All that to be said, there's a competitive nature to it when the responsibility on the city is to solidify a tax base. And I think in Utah, and this is just me personally, I think Utah it's difficult because of the way cities specifically capture revenue, is that they can do it through sales tax and they can do it through property tax, but the income tax is a tiny sliver, and that goes mainly to the state. So then you have
and to the school districts
and to the school districts, and that property tax, a big base of that property tax goes to the school district instead of the city.
That tourist industry,
and even that's limited because most of that stuff has to go through the state of Utah.
Has to go through the state. I hate when they put such a we talk about federal government, having their thumb on state rights. Well, you look at the states too that have their thumb on our cities.
On the cities.
It just gets right on down the line.
So it's difficult. And so I can see that it's a challenge from the city to say, well, we can raise property taxes or we can encourage businesses. But if you look at how do we collect revenue, those are the two primary sources of doing it. And if we can attract businesses in, we're going to be able to cover that tax base that we need. So I kind of understand that perspective. But back to the point of economic development, at what level should they participate in? You said it's a fine line between how should they get involved, how much should they get involved, and how much are they in control of?
Yeah,
right.
It's so true because as a negotiator myself, as a builder, I used to always have subcontractors. I built great relationships, but when I built a home too, I never gave them a blank check. And so when I was doing a construction project, I always tell my electrician, my plumber, whichever specialty needs I needed, I'd say, look, the bank's requiring me 3 bids. I just wanted them to sharpen their pencil. Maybe I'd say to Costco, we've got a Walmart superstore coming in. They want the same property. What do you guys want to do? Yeah. I mean, you because I know when you're at the table, it can be a game. Yeah. And sometimes 0.5% of an interest can be huge. We're all number guys. You're in the real estate business. You understand what that's about more than most. And so that's another question as we roll on over into housing and marketing and stuff. Did we handle that question pretty good? Or
I think that going back, our first one was more like the proper role and understanding how does the economic and one of the follow-up questions I have along those lines is that if you had to choose between preserving cultural heritage and fostering innovation and development in the city, which do you prioritize, and how do you do that?
I am innovation, because I'm glad you brought that up. Almost forgot. They're releasing passenger drones right now. I chatted about this before. When do we start? I hate to say control, because that's what
regulate.
Regulate. I mean, we're going to have upper traffic above us. Mm-hmm. Someone's flying over your backyard, who's looking in, et cetera. You know, that we're going to have to actually have a highway in the sky. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have parking areas and particular specifics. But I think the future drones are awesome, man. That is one of the solutions of our traffic issues right there.
It really can be.
It can be. And they're doing it in a couple big cities. I mean, I'm stoked. I'd love to have one. I want the one with the 4 batteries, because if 2 go out.
Yeah, I
want the one that's the egg, so like if it crashes, you're bouncing in it and stuff. I know we're kind of smiling, but that technology is amazing. Technology saved my life, Robert.
Yeah.
I'm a type 1 diabetic. I was 49 years old, woke up, my pancreas was dead. Mm-hmm. A lot of it related to the downwinders, and that's a whole nother story. But so I have this technology that is a reader on my body, on my glucose levels, that goes not only to my clinic, my phone, and my wife. And so I'm able to outlive 3 of my siblings who weren't fortunate. And that technology is always an eye-opener for me, because it does save lives.
Yeah.
But we're talking about airspace. These are things we really need to look at, whether it's me or the future. Please, guys, take a peek in there and let's map that out. So when all of a sudden guy slips up his drone and he runs into a power line, he's trying to sue us. Anything we can do that. And the same technology on power, we need another turbine. Mm-hmm. They've done a great job on having
generator.
Gas powered, and they're mostly on natural gas, and that's really saved us some money. Now, I've heard rumor. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I think we as a city could get out of the electrical business and let Dixie Power take it over. Maybe I'm spilling the beans a little early, but I mean, they have some of the lowest kilowatt. I mean, they're very prepared. That would be something that they could absorb and take it out of our hands and maybe do a better job. I mean, my power's never gone off in the 5 years where I've been where I am. Mm-hmm. So I tip my hat. My son-in-law's retired. He was a lineman for Dixie Power.
Yeah.
And I know we have Colin, that's working
Colin Jack. I've had him on the podcast.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see the city step away a little bit from that and let the private industry or Dixie, which is a co-op, then we'd all own the power.
Yeah.
We'd be a piece of that. I think those are innovative and wonderful ideas.
So in the preserving of the heritage, as being a longtime resident here and having roots here, where do you think that there's, what are those things that we do preserve?
I think we need to preserve Dixie. I mean,
the idea of Dixie. What do you mean?
The idea of Dixie was, and they've divided us though. That state or Utah Dixie.
Utah Tech versus Dixie State.
That in my personal opinion, that survey was flawed. Said, because I have 4 out of my 5 daughters graduated there, and I have a daughter who's a top professor, UVU, with a Dixie State degree. I mean, so we know that they couldn't get work is just kind of silly. I don't know if they'd ever go back to that being
I don't think so.
Dixie State. I don't think it'll happen. We just don't want that big D on the mountain to be standing for denial for the issues that we have at hand.
So what does that mean, though? What in your perspective, what is that heritage that you'd want to hold on to?
Dixie High School. Let's not let some type of woke group saying it's offensive. Same with George Washington. We go back in history and everybody's a sinner in their own way. We all fall short.
We all do.
But thank goodness for forgiveness. But we need to build that all from positive. And you'll have people that try to make money by throwing the negative out. I see so much negative come from people that's in it for the money.
Yeah.
If there's a solution and it's really hurting somebody, is Dixie High School's name hurting anybody? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, if you're offended, then go to Pineview. Whatever you want. You can go to any high school you want.
Go to a different high school.
Yeah. So I think the heritage that part is important. The rodeo, there's some people don't like rodeo. Yeah. An example, I had a gal at the gun show when I was selling my little thing. She says, I contest people that catch fish. And I said, well, why? And she says, well, I'm a mermaid. I swim in a show and I'm a mermaid.
No, she didn't.
She did. And I said, well, do you like fish? She says, yeah. I said, I think they're tasty like that. And then but I should have asked her, what do mermaids eat? And that probably would have been the better, maybe she ate
kelp.
Yeah.
They're vegetarians.
Well, thanks for letting me throw that in there. I know I try to be serious, but also in life, you got to smile.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a heritage that you do want to protect, but innovation to you, as we look forward in the future for the kids and the generations to come, you look at innovation is a top priority.
Oh, absolutely. And we have the right-of-ways already. How about I love this monorail systems. I think those are fantastic.
Yeah.
Back early when Japan was doing their first with the magnetic turn poles, I built a little track when I was a kid that way. I took magnets and put it on a little car. You know how they resist? And it would go around by itself. And I was like, and my wife was like, man, you should have stuck with that. And I said, well, I know my time is short.
Yeah.
Will somebody else do that?
Yeah, I know. There's lots of ideas out there.
We could zip it right to Zions and back, and just think of the lack of pollution and all the other things. And Republicans do care about our air, by the way.
Yeah.
Some people think they don't, but look at me. I actually had a solar thermal company.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, and this is one of those, because this is a follow-up question to that as well, as when it comes to the role of economic growth in the community and the well-being of that community, the community's well-being. So we have, let me restate this. What is the role of economic growth in a community's well-being, and how does it compare to other priorities like quality of life? Yeah. And what I mean by that is quality of life in resources and expectations for what is the air quality, what is the parks and rec and all that. So what is economic growth in the community's well-being,
Robert,
as opposed to
I am not anti-growth, please understand, but I support our local contractors too. I think at some point we've got to say no to some type of developments down the line because we've got to protect our resources. And I started talking about water years ago. To get the truth, we could be out in 18 years if we follow a path. If we went to 1% growth rate, maybe 20. We have a lot of projects going. Zach is doing a heck of a job over there. His job is not to promote growth or decline it. His is to supply us with water. Yeah. And you're going to see as we grow even more battles between cities. Right now we're real civil, but we'll be fighting for that resource. And we need a desalination plant from out on the fields with that heavy sulfur. I mean, that's something you talk about technology. But here's what I feel about development. A lot of developers are coming for profit. They're not invested in our city. And that's all right. That's their right. But as a council, to protect your resources and our local contractors, I think every developer, I call it my give back 10% plan, is they need to give 10% of their project back to the city and have an application for our service industry to apply for that 10% of those homes. And we'll use 1,000 homes for an example. Big developer comes in. You got 100 of these homes now set aside for service industry. There'd be an application almost like farmer's home loan. I don't know if you remember that in the rural areas. Yeah. You could get that home, but you couldn't sell it. You'd be limited to like maybe a 1% to 2% profit for so many years. We want people in our service industry to be able to afford a home. So those houses would be done at that developer's cost, and the city would waive the impact fees on those 100 homes. He's still going to profit on the 900 other homes there, and he'll do very well. He's just going to have to give back. That's why he's invested in us, and we don't lose our service industry. I call it the 10% give back plan. Yeah. And you being a realtor may understand more that we'd have to fine tune it in the application, but it would give our service industry, whether it's police, teachers, et cetera.
Yeah, I was thinking like what service industries?
And
like,
that's where it has to be fine lined and tuned in, because it would be just one option to have this developer be invested in our community, because they can grab the money and go. But as we were chatting about a little bit earlier, the market is for outside people, not our kids or grandkids. It's for those coming in that can afford the big tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can understand the idea of how do we protect the local community in absence of a developer coming in and saying, hey, I'm gonna sell this at market value and the highest and best use of the property. And how do we provide housing to help solve kind of that housing conundrum? I think
It
we're
is
in
a conundrum.
It's a conundrum.
The service industry. I mean, okay, so let's say 5% down for a young couple, even if it's 2% on a $600,000 home. I mean, who has that? 30 grand, and then there are some other programs, et cetera. We either got to look at a 40-year mortgage, or there are other solutions. But right now, I don't see a pathway for our kids and grandkids to purchase a home. One of the city's solution was put a casita on or a room addition on your house.
Accessory dwelling units.
And I understand. Okay, that's a plus. I'll give that to you. But I didn't want to move in mom and dad's backyard. I was blessed to have my place, to have a pet in my place, to have my kids go to my place. And I think about them. I think about the young people in our service industry. This is a pathway to that. We can fine tune it, but can make it happen. And even if it's not me, please, councilman, whoever, let's try to implement that plan.
Yeah. So coming up with some creative strategies around that makes a lot of sense.
Well, thank you, Robert, especially from a realtor.
I mean,
some of you'd be like, wow, but we got to fine tune it.
Yeah. The only thing, and without diving too deep in hashing out all and this is the thing with the city council, is what are the things that we can control and what are the things that we can't. A 40-year mortgage, I mean, the city council, they're not going to control that.
We can't control with the developer having the specific rules on that being criteria of you developing that property.
Yeah.
We can't.
We can't have some of those incentives in there.
And then you can look at Boulder City. Maybe we don't do what Boulder City does drastically, but they had to,
Boulder City, Colorado,
City, Nevada. They
Okay.
really had a spurge of growth there, and they just outgrew their infrastructure, and they had to make those infrastructure corrections before they could go forward. And sometimes that's probably a good legal excuse to say, hey, before you do this has to be in place. We need a guarantee from our water conservancy district that the water is there, and we make sure that we do the calculations correctly too, because Nevada doesn't. They don't count the water that goes down the drain. We try to, and I think they do a really good job over there. We all love it when it rains. We
love it when it rains.
We haven't been seeing a lot of it, and we're in a drought. And hopefully we'll get a little more rain.
Yeah, hopefully. Do you believe leadership requires absolute consistency, meaning unwavering resolve in decision making, or is flexibility and pragmatism more important?
I belonged to a lot of think tanks in my day, and it just blew my mind how one of the most innocent, uneducated individuals, in my opinion, come up with something. I'm like, whoa, everybody has something to offer. But at the final time, and the final decision, I think there are certain things you can't compromise on, and that's just how I believe. And I'm a man of faith too, so I do try to take everything to prayer first, because I do find answers there, and then I'll vote for what's best for the people, but always what's good in my heart. Yeah.
And so, is there? Where do you feel that flexibility? Where do we need that flexibility? And then where do you land on?
Yeah, I know. Robert,
I know it's a tough question.
It's a tough question, but I land on this. I got asked to speak at that coffee house over there, and I guess they have a big a gay following, et cetera, and all that. And I said, I had a person say, do you support these rights and that rights? I said, if you're an American citizen, you're protected under our Constitution. Let's be American. Be American. You live your life, and I'll live mine. Unless there is something that puts jeopardy within our children in danger, then maybe we take a look at whoever side is doing whatever. But, government needs to get out of our bedroom. I've always said that. And you have a right to live. I mean, that's under our Constitution. Yeah. And I love that. It is a pursuit of happiness and freedom. So I support Americans that want to try to live that dream. And I hope that they can get that dream. One of them is to be able to own a home wherever they want.
I think that's important. I really do. And I think it's important for the health of a community, because having property ownership, the value of that it brings a different level of ownership into your neighborhood and the school systems and the local businesses. When you're a renter economy, when everybody's just here on a temporary basis, there's not as much investment
in the community. And that's so true. It's just temporary for all of us. And I know I'm getting to the end of my candle, and that's why I hope before my light goes out, I give a chance to serve. This will be my last race for city council. I'll never run for council again. I don't know if anything else would come, but this is it for me. And I think at this point, with everything happening, we need somebody strong in there. I mean, our especially what's happened so close to home here. I mean, be prepared.
Yeah.
Do we have the courage and strength? Because nothing could stop something happening just like that, whether it be in a council meeting, a ribbon cutting, or anything.
That's cool.
We got to be ready. And I'm telling you, I will bring that strength to this council. I know I have a strong background.
I got another one more question for you, and then one last question.
Thank you.
When it comes to community input, how does that? What role does community input play in your decision-making process, and how do you weigh it against your own judgment?
Yeah. Okay. Well, being a past Dixie Sunshiner, part of the ambassadors to the Chamber of Commerce, I would make all the ribbon cuttings that I could. I'm still probably could. And, I think that's what brings me closer to community, because we have a diverse, different businesses throughout our host city. So when to be more specific about it, I kind of admire that. If it's a lifestyle or something that I may not understand or be part of, I look at it maybe kind of like an entertainment type thought. So try to have a better understanding like that. I don't know if that's going to fully answer your question, but I support small business because they take the gamble. It's all on them. And I used to say that to so many different subcontractors and other people when they say, well, it's not personal, it's business. I said, well, my business is personal, and I'm the one that takes the fall under my management position. So I have to step up. I'm responsible for so many things. So the decisions may be not always right, but they have to be on my shoulders.
Yeah, and I think when I was thinking about it is like you're going to have votes and you're going to have discussions and legislative processes that happen, and the community is going to be invited to have an input on that. And so when it comes to I'll use this for an example. It was the most commented so far this year. It was the most commented on development. It was the hotel going in over by Sun River, and lots of public comment and a lot of pushback to the city council on not approving the hotel to move forward. And so, in thinking about that public input, how do you weigh those things out as a representative? You're a legislator. You've been voted in to represent at some capacity, but also to legislate with your own judgment in mind. How do you weigh that public comment?
You weigh it not only because Sun River, was voted on developed when my dad was a commissioner in the 80s. He said we'd take 100 of those because they're self-policing. They bring a tax base to the city. I'm not a fan of the Western Corridor. We'll make that for an example. So what input do you have there? They've already, that's on the books, and they've annexed in that land for development below the Sun River people. I just have images of this big semi running them over in their little golf cart as they're coming through the Western Corridor. There's alternative routes. They could come into 1600. They could come all the way into St. George, take 1600 into Santa Clara. Talk about costs of going toward Arizona's line, that there's a lot of washes they have to cross and bridges and all that. But that's something that can be doable. It may be more expensive, but we're growing too. And we pay on those fuel taxes and all that other stuff for that development. And the state can kick in toward that. That's where you pay that too, going up in there. So for an example, on Sun River, I think we need to leave them alone and listen to them. Now, the hotel, they did adjust the height of it. There was a compromise. Like big shots over there, some were complaining about the lights, but they turned their lights so it's not a distraction. I think their concern would be traffic. I think most of them are happy. I think they made some good, not compromises, but to the developer to understand if he wants to be there, this is what you have to do. And I thought they worked that out really well. But the citizens got to come first. I can't take a citizen who's never been in business and try to dictate to a business person who's trying to make a living on how it's going to happen. So we'll come together. We'll come with solutions. I'm a solution guy. That's what I go for.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. Okay, last question.
Okay.
What is your opinion on term limits? At the city, at the state, at the federal level, do you have a thought on what do you think should be done?
Oh gosh, I used to be a big advocate for that, but then I was schooled that your vote is your term limit, and I really like that. But I did have a quote Let me see.
Ooh, you were prepared.
I was, and oh gosh, I better be able to find this guy because I thought his words were so important there. Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, Tom.
If serving in an elected office ever becomes a career, corruption will surely follow. I think he nailed it.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You do, you serve, you go back, you do your time. I would hope that that people would say, you know what? I'm proud I elected him.
Uh-huh.
Get a little emotional. So much on the line on every election, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
I do love our city. I know my timeline is short, so I'd hope they give me a shot this time.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you the best of luck, man. I really do. I think you got a big heart to serve. I think you come with a unique perspective.
Thank you.
With a lot of experience. And
appreciate that.
I think there's going to be a big crowd that's going to be supporting you this year. And we're going to see how it turns out. The election's going to be right around the corner, about a month away.
It's sure fun. I'm going to have fun with it. You know, we got a couple speaking engagements coming up, and so we'll be able to give our message out. And I think right now we need strength. I hope that's me.
Yeah. Where can people find out more information about you?
I've got a website. It's gregforutah.com.
Like the number 4?
Actually, I spelled it out this year.
Okay.
F-O-R. So Greg, G-R-E-G-F-O-R, Utah.
That makes more sense than the number. I always, why would you do the number 4?
Well, I couldn't get 4.
You couldn't, you tried.
No, I tried. And I think Greg Hughes was like in there, you know, in his race.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
A couple of the others. And then I think it's kind of like my business one for the fishing thing. They were holding that ransom to me. You know, people come in and they buy it all.
Everybody wants their slice.
Isn't it sad?
It is sad. Yeah. It is part of the world.
So we're up on the FOR thing, and so you can come there.
Greg4Utah.com.
Yeah, we got a little Venmo thing in there. I'm not hooked up on credit cards, et cetera, but
if you want to donate.
Yeah, you could. And it helps. It helps. I'm a grassroots guy, and I self-fund a lot, Robert, just for the reason I don't want to owe anybody except the people.
Yeah.
That's it.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming, man. Can't wait to talk to you more about some of this other stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be good stuff.
That'll
Catch
be awesome.
a big fish. Okay?
That's right. I will. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you go to votestg.com to find all the information about all the candidates. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We look forward to more candidate interviews coming soon. We'll see you out there, guys. Thanks for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Make sure you're following us on all the social media websites. We love your support. We love the dialogue. We want to continue that going.
Find us at realestate435.com. We'd love to help you find a house here in town or help you get wherever you're going.